Today on the MotoMan podcast, we're sitting down with a man who didn't just join the automotive conversation, he completely flipped the camera on it.
I'm essentially just doing what a lot of people do on horizontal content. You're in front of a camera, you're talking about a car. I just did it vertical.
Forrest Jones is the pioneer of the vertical car review. While the rest of the world was shooting cinematic horizontals, he was proving that 60 seconds in a smartphone could capture millions of imaginations, starting with, of all things, a minivan vacuum.
To this day, my highest viewed video is a Chrysler Pacifica with like 40 million views.
But the path from a small-town Texas church to driving a yellow Lamborghini in California wasn't paved with logic. It was paved with a move during a global pandemic and an overwhelming leap of faith.
We had this big going away party. Everyone from our church came, family came, friends came. And everyone was like giving us envelopes. I'm like, I just feel like we're supposed to give you this. I feel like we're supposed to give you this. And at the end of the night, we open up all the envelopes. It's like $8,500.
He's a creator who refuses to find his identity solely in his subscriber count, choosing instead to focus on being exactly who he was meant to be. People love to call it luck. Forrest Jones doesn't. He'll even make you rethink the term coincidence.
Coincidences are just like things you haven't given God credit for yet.
Okay, I'm gonna make a statement here.
Okay.
And I know you're a humble guy. You probably will not agree with me. But the statement is as follows. You have completely reinvented automotive content into vertical. You are the guy that invented that genre in automotive. I would say that.
I will neither confirm nor deny. I will say I had not, that was my stomach, by the way. I had not seen a lot of vertical car review content until after I started doing it. I'm just going to call it coincidence. The funniest part is that like a lot of people are like, man, what a cool idea. Like, oh, you came up with this own style. I truly didn't feel like it was anything special. The first time I did it, I was like, I'm essentially just doing what a lot of people do on horizontal content. You're in front of a camera, you're talking about a car. I just did it vertical. And because at the time TikTok only allowed 60 seconds, I was like, I'm just doing this. I have to shove it into 60 seconds. I'm essentially making like a highlight reel. And it's enough information for people to be like, oh, do I like this car or do I not like this car? Because if you wanted more information on it, there's tons of long form horizontal content. And originally it was like, let me push them to my horizontal content, but then the short form started doing so well. So I pretty much stuck to just that. And then I let everyone else handle the long form content.
So let's understand this. Like, you and I have known each other, God, it's been probably 8 years, almost 9 years.
At least.
Like, so tell me when you first made this switch where like, you know what, I'm going to shoot it this way. When was that?
During COVID, for sure. So quick story about coming out here and just that whole process. So we were in Texas, born and raised, my wife and I. And I remember I was doing some side work with Kelly Blue Book. Was doing YouTube, and I was working for my church at the same time. I was just basically like patching up holes in the wall, replacing toilet paper, just like maintenance stuff. Micah was like, hey, if you ever want to come out here, we'd be able to compensate your cost of living. And I was like, no, born and raised in Texas, for the most part, pretty anti-California. So I was like, I'll die in Texas. Like, I love it out here. I'm never gonna go to California. No. And then, I'm a God-fearing man. I'm a Christian. So my wife had prayed about it. And she's like, I feel like we're supposed to move out to California. And I was like, no.
Wait, unsolicited, she comes to you with this.
So when they offered me to move there, she had sort of like prayed over that situation. She's like, I feel like we're supposed to go out there. And I was like, no. And I kind of like shelved her for like 8 months, a long time. She brought it up again. I got kind of frustrated. I was like, okay, whatever, I'll pray about it. And then I kind of just had this overwhelming sense of like, I feel like we are supposed to go out there. Don't know how, because we couldn't afford it at the time. And basically I was like, okay, look, if we're supposed to go out there, I'm just going to actually just make the steps to go out there. And the day before we moved out there, we had this big going away party. Everyone from our church came, family came, friends came, and everyone was like giving us envelopes. I'm like, I just feel like we're supposed to give you this. I feel like we're supposed to give you this. And at the end of the night, we open up all the envelopes. It's like $8,500.
$8,500.
Yeah, just when people that's how much money people were just giving us. Like, we just feel like we're supposed to give you this, and we're like, what do we do with this? And we're like, okay, we're gonna prepay like 3 months of rent. Moved out here. Don't know why we did that. We kind of just felt like that was the right move. And it ended up being the right move because COVID hit 3 weeks later, like where everything shut down. I was at Kelly Blue Book, but they kind of like furloughed the whole team we were on. So didn't have that anymore. And my wife hadn't found a job yet. And now she couldn't because of COVID. So we were like kind of stuck. And they weren't really allowing people to like go back and forth between states. It was like,
yeah, you went in the wrong direction. Like
sure did.
Texas, you would have been footloose, fancy free.
Oh yeah. And we kind of were, because we're in Orange County, very mellow out there.
We were in prison up there.
And we couldn't pay rent for
3 months.
3 months. How insane, right?
You know, it's fun. Okay, let's cut to the chase here. The big reason why you and I didn't know this about you, but the big reason why I wanted to get you on the podcast to talk, you're one of the few folks like me and Miles that are Christians in this whole world of reviewing cars in the car world. And yes, that's going to come up later in our discussion. I just wasn't aware that this is such a graphic part of your story that, like, this is an old saying, man makes plan and God laughs. And this is one of these situations. Like, I don't think I want to go to I don't want to go to California. God's like, here's $8,500, get off your ass.
Yeah. It's crazy, right?
That is the power of God.
Oh, it's amazing. And
it's very, like, people say, oh, how could you talk to God? It's like, sometimes God just screams into your ear, and that's one of these cases.
It's like, I saw this video the other day. This guy's like, coincidences. Oh, I think it was like Pastor Stephen Furtick. And he's like, he said like coincidences are just like things you haven't given God credit for yet. And I was like, that's pretty cool.
That's actually, I'm going to steal that material.
That's pretty
I like
cool.
that.
But, you know, there were too many coincidences and there's too many things that happen in such a way that I can't fully take credit for. And like, that has to be God. Like, there's no way that's me. And so, like, leading up to the channel, which is obviously what we're talking about right now. Sorry to go on the rant, but so because of all of that, I was pretty like down in the dumps. And I was like, man, I'm just going to take my mind off things. TikTok was really big. Downloaded it.
You were down in the dumps because you made this move and nothing was happening.
Because we made this move. We were stuck out there with no family or friends during a pandemic. We had no clue what was going to happen. We sold our only car just to have extra cash because we were like, I don't know what's going to happen. And I didn't really need a car because we were actually still getting press cars during the lockdown.
In fact, got more.
Yeah, we actually did. And so I was like, well, we have transportation in a way. And then the Kelly Blue Book thing got furloughed there. And I was just like, man, this is just, why did we do this? This is terrible. Like, we misheard. Like, none of this was supposed to happen. And so I'm just doom scrolling on TikTok for hours just to take my mind off things because it's funny. It's a little dopamine fix. And then I was like, there's not a lot of car content on here. And if there was, it was like builds, like people's cars. But there's no one really talking about cars in the way I guess I do now. So I was like, I'm going to make a video. And I did a video. It was like a POV video. And it did 1 million views like pretty immediately. And it was like I messed up on like heated and cooled cup holders or something like that. It was like a weird video. But it did 1 million views, which is already more than any views I've gotten on YouTube. So then I was like, I don't know if I want to do the POV thing. I kind of want to be like in front of the camera, like just talking. Because my wife is like, what is going to separate, if you stick with POV content, what's going to separate your POV content from other people's POV content? Like, she's just like, it's very easy to sort of get lost in the sauce when everyone's doing POV and just focusing on the car because it's hard to connect directly with like you. So I was like, okay, I'll try in front. And if the video does really well, then I'll like continue doing that. And sure enough, I did a video on like a Honda Odyssey. It did like 3 million views.
The one with the vacuum cleaner.
With the vacuum.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 3 million views. And I was
Matter
like,
of
all
fact,
right.
that's like one of the first like vertical videos I looked at, and I fell off my chair. I'm like, he's showing me a vacuum cleaner in a minivan, like the automotive equivalent to stretch pants, and this has 3 million views.
It's crazy, right?
It's nuts.
It's just the little features. I mean, to this day, my highest viewed video is a Chrysler Pacifica with like 40 million views.
So your former colleague at Kelly Blue Book, Lynn Woodward, a good friend of mine. She's also, I don't know if you're aware of this, she's my healthcare wife.
I did not know
Yes,
that. I love Lynn, though. She's great.
Lynn's the best. When I got mowed down by a Tesla, actually.
Did you actually?
Oh, yeah. I don't know
What
if
was
you...
this?
2 months before. Like, you had a challenge at the beginning of the virus, so did I. I started 2020. It started off with a bang, man. I had an entry to the Tokyo Marathon. I was going to go on. My church and I were going to go to Cuba on a trip later that year, and then I started out the year with I'm going to shoot a 1955 Mercedes-Benz Gullwing.
Nice.
January 8th, 2020. I strapped the cameras into it, take it up to the top of the hill. I get out of the car to look at the cameras that go back in to get in the car, and boom, this woman's driving 45 miles an hour, not paying attention, picks me up on the hood, go 65 feet, stop short, I fly 55 feet, end up in the street. And I lived in a hospital for a month. Then a grown man had to go live with his family for another month in a wheelchair for 6 weeks, on a wound vac for 3 months. And then when I finally start walking again, 2 days later, the world shuts down.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is rough.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people just went through it in 2020.
Yeah. And talk about a God story. The woman who hit me went to my church.
How? I wouldn't know how to feel about that, actually. I'd be like, wow.
We're good friends now.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. I told her, I said, I'm not going to say her name on camera, but I'm like, when we finally got introduced one time, I said it would have been a lot easier if you just came to my financial class if you really wanted to meet me that bad.
I know it's going to hit me.
Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. Let's actually step back a little bit because, everyone kind of knows the Forrest Jones, like the rock star Forrest Jones, who turned up in a yellow Lamborghini today. We'll get to that later. But how did it all start with the reviewing thing?
I started going to Cars and Coffees when I was like 17, 18.
Yeah.
Got really into cars.
Did you have a cool car?
No. I had a Mustang.
It's not bad.
It was like a 04.
Yeah, stick?
No.
Ugh, get out.
Convertible too.
And that's dedication in Texas.
Yeah, I had the worst farmer's hand. Because in Texas it's just so hot, dude. But I was like, I got a convertible. And then one time it wouldn't go back up, so I had no choice but to just leave it down. So got it fixed though pretty quick.
Yeah.
Before the next rain, it got fixed. And so basically, I was going to Cars and Coffees, and I was like, man, how do I... Sorry, let me back up. I was going to Cars and Coffees. Then, obviously, I was real into like Top Gear. I was reading Motor Trend magazine. I was watching back... I first started watching the YouTube videos when like Carlos Lagos.
Oh, Carl, great dude. Love that guy.
Yeah. Loved watching all that stuff.
Carl's the best.
So, was really into all the reviews. Remember Saab Kyle?
Christian.
Yeah?
Great guy.
So
good friend.
It was cool. I was watching all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, how do I do this for a living? And
his partner, Tolly, he's a great dude as well.
Yeah.
Also Christian. Great guy. Cool. Anyway, go on.
So
shout out to Saab Kyle and Tolly. Yeah.
And so basically, I got an opportunity to be a porter at an Audi dealership, Audi Plano in Texas. Worked there.
And what year is this?
This is like 2014.
Okay.
Ish. Maybe 2015, somewhere around there. And worked there for like a year. It wasn't really what I thought. It was cool parking the cars, but I wasn't ready to move up to sales. And then from there, I kind of just left, went back to waiting tables. Then I got tired of waiting tables. I applied for a job selling cars at a Ford dealership. It was like a Ford Mazda dealer in Fort Worth. And I remember the day I got the call. This is crazy. The day I got the call was actually the day I got sort of like rebaptized. So I was baptized as a kid, growing up Catholic. But then, like, in the Bible, it's like when you make the decision to get baptized, it's a decision like you make. Like, I'm going down this path. I know what I'm doing, and I'm choosing myself to like follow.
And were you a married man at this point?
I think I was like, it was the same year I got married.
And was she already baptized, or you did it together?
We started baptized. And so once I, started going to the Christian side of things and no longer like Catholic, I was like, okay, I'm going to make the decision. I got rebaptized. And that same day we had like a party to celebrate it. And at that party,
a lot of parties with you.
Yeah. I like parties. And I got a call that at the party, and this guy's like, hey, let's go into these applications. Saw your name. I really need some guys. It doesn't look like you've ever sold cars before. We can train you for like an extra 2 weeks. Can you start tomorrow?
Wow.
I was like, sure. And I was like, crazy. So went in, and that Mazda Ford dealer was actually where I made my first YouTube video.
So what? You were like the internet guy, and you were doing the videos and putting it on the website?
I had a lot of people telling me like, "Hey, we want pictures of like this car," and it was a lot of the Mazda people, like Mazda customers, and it was a CX-5. That was like almost exclusively all they sold. Obviously had a few Miatas, like Mazda 3s, Mazda 6s
Yeah,
here
but
and
it's
there.
the car that pays the bills still.
No, the CX-5 is hands down like the cash cow.
Yeah, 200,000 units.
And so I was like, man, they're all pretty much the same at that point. It was first gen CX-5. There weren't many options. So I was like, I just made one video on the fully loaded one, posted it up, and I think it did like 400,000.
And this is on like your YouTube or their YouTube?
My YouTube.
And did the boss say like, what are you doing? Or it's like, do more of that?
Well, I threw it up, didn't realize it did big numbers until like the next month when we had a new guy start and he's looking up content online to get more familiar with the cars. And he's like, yeah, watch this video. He's like, I learned pretty much everything about the car. And he's like, then I realized it was here. And then I realized it was you.
Wow.
I was like, what? And so we looked at the video and we were like shocked. There's like all these views and people were like, you should do a Mazda 6 next. You should do a Miata next. So I did. And then the next gen CX-5 came out, which is the one that just got replaced. Did a video on that. Boom. Another 500,000 views. Crazy. Mazda Corporate heard about it, who ironically is where I live now, Irvine.
Yeah, they're down the road there. And they have that, they keep the heritage cars in the garage downstairs from design. That's the place to be.
Crazy. So they heard about it. Then they were like, hey, we want to send you like a press car, which I didn't even know existed.
So they unsolicited, they call you. And say, hey,
well,
man,
my district manager came in who checks on all the dealerships. He's like, hey, I got a message from you from like corporate. And I was like, oh gosh, what did I do? I thought I got in trouble. He's like, they love this, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, if you ever want to do some more stuff with the Mazdas, like message me. And I was like, okay. And I messaged him. I was like, hey, I want to do more stuff with the Mazdas, like more content stuff. He's like, okay, cool. I'm going to connect you with Drive Shop.
Love Drive Shop.
And then from
Eric
there,
Booth. Not
yeah.
Eric Booth.
Eric Getz.
Eric Getz, he's my fellow watch junkie. Yeah.
Love
Eric. Great guy.
I love Eric. He's such a good guy. And I always message him every time I go back to Texas. I'm like, hey, you got anything? And I just make a video on it.
I like to point out, I trained him for you. He was out here. He
was out here for a bit.
Him, Mark Duffus, and I think Marty are the ones that started the business. Marty owns the business, but Mark ended up owning the business in LA, and Eric owns Phoenix, Dallas, and Denver. And so they basically built the business in LA, and then he took over Dallas, went out there, built the business out there.
It's amazing. But started getting cars from them. First it was only Mazdas, and then I think one of the guys who dropped off the cars, he's like, hey, so are you like just doing Mazda, or do you need like contacts to other brands? And I was thinking about quitting selling cars because once again, I was like, man, I love cars, but the dealership scene just isn't for me.
Well, were you making money from YouTube at that point? Were you monetized? So it was just fun.
It was just fun. But I got a little ahead of myself and I was like, I want to quit and try to just go full in on the YouTube thing. I did exactly that. It didn't work out too well, which is why I had to get the job working for my church. Because like, all right, now I need something like stable because this isn't going to work. Kept doing the videos while I was at the church. Content started to grow more. Then obviously we moved out here. The content actually plummeted during COVID. That was another thing that happened. That's another reason I was just sort of like depressed, doom scrolling TikTok.
That's it. So because you were, at that point, were you landscape or vertical?
Landscape.
I remember, I'll never forget this. Didn't you do a video for Lincoln? Like Lincoln paid you.
I did. And for the record, I think it was that one. It was that one. And I did one for Genesis. That was the only 2 times I've ever done like a paid review. Hated it.
And that came directly to you or through Kelly Blue Book?
Directly to me. Yeah. But yeah, so those are the only times I've ever done anything paid.
You were young and needed the money.
Well, I was just sort of like, oh, this is interesting. Like maybe I'll give it a try. Yes. But then it's like they control everything you say. You can't say anything negative. And I'm like, yeah, no, this.
You feel dirty after it.
Yeah. So it's up there. So I'm not like happy that I did it, but I did do that twice.
Yeah.
Different brands. Like maybe it'll be different Genesis. No, exact same one. So, anyways, I was doing that, and because YouTube is a search engine, people weren't looking up cars during COVID because people were looking up, oh, what's going to happen? Is the economy going to crash? Whatever. Yeah. But TikTok was great because it was just pushing like content to whoever. So the content did well, started getting way more views. And then I remember one time I went out on a Honda Talon to film, the Honda Town out in the desert. I think we were in Ocotillo Wells, and I had all my camera gear strapped to the back of that thing, and we ended up flipping it like 5 times. Like, dude, so the Honda doesn't have the automatically adjusting dampers.
Yeah.
So you have to like click, 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 click. And I left it in like the stiffest setting. So when we went to go try the jump again, it rebounded like crazy. And so it just goes, whew. And I thought I had it because the tires hit first. I was like, okay, I'm good. But it hit at too much of an angle. So when the suspension compressed, the front just dug in. And then because the suspension was already compressed and it's in that really like stiff setting, it bounced me like a springboard. And I just kept landing on the tires. So it just kept like boing, 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 like 5 times.
And this is when you had the Sony camera?
I had everything strapped to the back. All of it got crushed.
All
of it got crushed. Of course, everything was just out of warranty. Of course. So then I didn't know what to do. I had to go full in on TikTok because it was doing well. At that point, it already had a few million views. And I was
but
like,
what gear were you using on TikTok?
just my phone. Like before all the stuff got crushed.
Yeah,
I was just using my phone because I was just using my phone for TikTok, and then for my YouTube content, I was just still using my camera.
Yeah, I've got a very good friend of mine from high school. He helped me start MotoMan.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a very accomplished cinematographer. Very accomplished. He's in the industry. His dad was even more accomplished. His dad was the DP on, I may be dating myself here, but Coal Miner's Daughter, Dressed to Kill, Stop Making Sense, like big movies. His dad was a big deal. Very thankful to him because he taught us a lot. Mm-hmm. And he had this great saying, you have everything you need within 6 feet of you. And so you may have taken the tumble with this beautiful $3,000 camera.
Loved that camera.
But you had everything you needed within 6 feet of you.
I did.
Yeah.
Still had my phone. Still breathing, so that's great.
Yeah, you're lucky.
Yeah.
Otherwise, your wife would have killed you again.
Yeah.
So
revived me and then killed me.
I like your wife. So let's step back here for a minute now. What year is this that TikTok's starting to go like this and the the horizontal's getting more difficult?
2020. I think all that started, I want to say maybe like midsummer was when it kind of started taking off. This is estimate. I truly don't know. 2020 was such a blur. I want to say maybe August or something. Things really started to pick up. I believe that was maybe after I got into the wreck. Then by like November, I already had 1 million followers. It was crazy.
So in basically 8 months.
Basically. It was insane.
Wow.
So then I was like, obviously just over the moon, got more access to things.
Does that, okay, let me step back here for a minute. At 1 million followers, because I don't really do the shorts. Mm-hmm. At 1 million followers, were you putting food on the table at that point?
Yeah. I think it was like, it was enough to where we were surviving for sure.
And is your wife working or she stay at home with kids?
She was working at the time as well.
Mm-hmm. So and what is she? Is she stay at home now or with the kids?
She stay at home now.
Good for you.
But before she was working for a cheer gym. She used to do competitive cheerleading growing up. And then she went back to working at a cheer gym. She's like, this would be fun. And she actually met her best friend there. So that's really cool. They're coming over tonight.
You guys have a fairy tale life, man.
They're coming over tonight.
That's pretty amazing.
That's the thing. Is it a fairy tale or is it?
I think it's a combination. I mean, if we're being honest here, I think it's a combination of God has you have this thing about if you guys go look at his Instagram, everybody's got a bio. His bio says God first. And I think that's a big thing for you. I think that's part of the reason why this happens. Mm-hmm. And I also think you just live life on purpose. Like you've taken these risks. Some people would look at you like, what? You moved to California? With only $8,500, you're crazy.
Got a lot of that.
So that's a huge risk, but I think by having the calculated risk and putting God first, that's why you're in this position where it's a fairy tale life.
Yeah, and I think like there's a lot of things that I do that kind of seem to come true based off of things like I've read in the Bible, based off of things that I do. So
give me 3 examples.
Okay, so like there's verses in the Bible where it talks about I don't know verses at the top of my head, so forgive me. But there's, and maybe if someone's watching, they can like post it. But like or comment.
My friend Reed Choi, he is my Bible expert. He
Okay, so
he will come back to you on
There's
this.
a verse in the Bible where it talks about like God, basically like orders your steps, or you something along those lines, like He guides your steps, right? So we had already heard like go this direction, which is California. So we took those steps. There's also another. There's also another part in the Bible where like they're taking, I think, Covenant of the Ark across like a river, and they're like, "How are we supposed to get across this river? It's raging, it's huge, whatever." And as they take the first step into the river, the water stops flowing. So it's like as you take those steps, it's like that's showing the faith, and then He sort of makes the things happen as you're going. You know what I mean? Because as you're taking those steps, it's showing faith, and then you're getting rewarded for your faith, and then it's kind of the way I think things work. And then there's like the favor, just being like a child of God kind of thing. I feel like there's a lot of like favor in that. Perfect example. You know Gunther Works, right?
Of course.
Okay. Went to Gunther Works. Peter was there. He like was about to give us a tour, and he goes, "Hey, I want to introduce you to someone. This is my son." And he's like, "You should really thank him." I was like, "Oh, what a random thing to say." I was like, "Why do you say that?" And he's like, "Well, we had someone else lined up to come here, but my son was like, no. Like, you have to have Forrest come here." And he's like, and I wasn't too sure. Then I looked up some of your stuff, and I was like, "Okay, I really like this." So I canceled the other guy. I still don't know who the other guy was. But he's like, "I canceled the other guy, and we invited you instead." And I was the first person to film the new Gunther, the like 1,000 horsepower, crazy one. And it's just things like that, because like I didn't know that kid. How would I? And like I didn't put anything in his ear to be like, "Hey, say this at this time," or
you did put something in his ear because he's been following
the content.
Yeah.
But like I didn't necessarily like what am I trying to say? Like provoke him to be like to say this, to be like, "No, stop." Like go to his dad, like, "No, stop. You should have him instead."
Yeah.
Like he could have just been like, "Oh, whatever." Like I don't know. It's just kind of a weird thing, because like I couldn't have made that happen. Like I couldn't have done that myself. You know what I mean? So that's why I kind of feel like there's certain things that happen in a way to where it's like I could take credit and be like, "Yeah, I work hard," and he inevitably saw my videos, but like I feel like there's a little more than that. Yeah. I mean, I truly do believe in like the favor and stuff, just because like I do feel like there's things that I can't truly take credit for all the time. Obviously, I do my part and I work hard and all that stuff, but like there's people that work harder than me. There's people that know more about cars than me. There's people that are better in front of a camera. So like if you're just talking logically, there are people that are better at essentially everything that I do that are out there. So why am I getting some of these opportunities? And I feel like it's a mix of like people that I've met.
Yeah.
And I've met some of those people through a lot of happenstance, random situations. You know, maybe we connected on like a level. So it's just like all of those factors that I don't fully have control over. It's just kind of like happens.
I think there's two moving parts here. I think there is the Microsoft Apple debate, where if you look at it, Apple is a better product. But from the outset, Microsoft was a better commercial success. So it's not necessarily the guy who knows the most or has the better product. You presented a different product. I think there's that. But then the other moving part, and I think this is a big part to demonstrate the power of faith, is when was an example? Like, give us an example where you didn't show faith.
Oh, I didn't?
Where you said, "You know what? God's speaking into your life." And you said, "You know what? Thanks, but no thanks. I'm going in this direction."
Oh, definitely whenever my wife first came to me with the whole "let's move to California," I was like, no. I was like, I'm just fully believing you're just like making this up. Or
because
like
she was from Fresno.
Well, no, not even that. She grew up most of her life in Texas. Like she moved from Fresno when she was like a baby. So grew up all of her life in Texas, basically.
Yeah.
So I think it was more like I didn't want it to be true. If like she was truly hearing, and like if that was truly the direction we're supposed to go, I didn't really want it to be true because I didn't want to go out there. Kind of like the story of like Jonah. Jonah hated, I forgot what the place is called. But God was like, "Go to this place." And he's like, "No, I don't want to go to this place because I hate it there. The people are vile, whatever. And he's like, "I know you're a good God, and I know that if I go there and do what you tell me to do, you're going to save them. And I don't want you to save them because they should all perish because they're all terrible." And so he goes the opposite direction, swallowed by the whale, whatever, spits him out. And he's like, all right, I'll go. Because in the whale, he's like, hey, I'll do what you asked me to if you get me out of here.
Yeah.
Got him out of there, goes there. All the people in that city repent. And like Jonah gets mad because he's like, I knew you're going to do this. I knew you have too much grace and too much forgiveness. And you forgave all these people and you saved all of them. And he got mad about that because he just didn't like those people.
Yeah. Until you finally do it the way I'm telling you to do, or the way I'm showing you is the path.
Yeah. And you're like, I want to do it this way.
And I'd love to tell you that, oh, yeah, I learned this lesson like 20 years ago. I'm going through it right now.
Oh, we all are. Different things, you know.
Different things in life. That's just how it is.
Then there's the thing with me, because obviously the channel is pretty big. Then there's the issue of like not finding sort of like all of my worth or all of my identity in that. You know what I mean? Because like outside of being like the car guy, which a lot of people know me as, it's like, well, I'm a father. I love to play guitar. I'm a son. I'm a husband. I'm a friend.
So this gets us to an interesting point. So you used to do the long form videos. I remember we were at, what was it? Like in the depths of the virus, you and I went to Rogue together. It was the first program that I went to after the virus. And I remember at that point, I think you were still doing the landscape videos. What would you say now looking back on it? What makes a landscape video successful? What are the like 3 aspects that would make it stand out?
A landscape video like this way? This way.
So like something that's YouTube where
Horizontal?
you're looking at it horizontal.
I think it's way harder. People think shorts are hard. I think it's hard to make a engaging long form video. You have to keep people engaged for what? Some videos 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Incredibly hard to do.
So hard to do.
Yeah.
And it's actually like, once again, I'm not saying what I do is easy necessarily. Like it has its own set of challenges, but to me, I look at long form and it's so daunting.
But what are 3 things that goes into making? Not
I
like,
think,
oh my God, like that guy, like Jason.
Yeah.
You know, Jason does a great job. You know, Jason, that's what success is. I'm not saying a specific
like what's
channel. Like what are 3 aspects that goes into making that format work?
So let's just look at videos I like to watch that are long form. So I love Car Wow.
Interesting. I'm surprised by this.
I love Car Wow. I think he's so funny.
Really?
I think Matt Watson's so funny. But I love the drag races a lot.
Yeah, that's probably that's why we watch them.
The drag races are really, really good. Because you kind of want to see, especially when he does like multiple from a dig races. I love that he does the rolling races. Then you have the brake tests. I love that they do the rolling races like in different speeds, different modes, whatever. So you kind of want to see all that play out. Then you have just pure entertainment and like all shock factors. So like I just watched Hoonigan's new Gymkhana video with Travis Pastrana. And like, have you seen that video?
I haven't seen it yet. No.
Can I tell you about the car?
Yeah, please do.
Sick. It's a Subaru Brat 9500 turbo. They like built it, right? So it's got a 2-liter turbo flat 4, but it makes like 670 horsepower, and that one revs to over 95. Really crazy, and it weighs like 2,800 pounds roughly. So you know it's like 720S 765 LT power to weight ratio. Sounds epic, and because it's a Brat, they put these 2 seats in like the bed, which is cool. And at the end, there's like this thing where he does like donuts with people in the back. So sick. Obviously, all the long travel suspension has active aero, like fender flaps that move back and forth. And
did it start out life as a Brat originally?
I think so. I actually didn't watch. They have a video where they do the full breakdown. I didn't watch
I gotta
it.
see that.
I didn't watch it.
Vaughn's a good friend of mine. He built some of Hoonigan's cars back in the day, the Mustang, the Hoonicorn.
I forgot the name of the company that built this one.
I'm gonna have to do some digging on this. So it sounds like the things that like capture at least you in terms of you seeing a landscape video success is there's got to be, for lack of a better term, there's got to be no shit factor.
Well, that, or if I'm truly like interested in something. I saw this other video, random, because I watch a lot of random things. There's this one video about like it is a video, and it's like one of those animated videos, and it's like, here's what it's like to serve a life sentence.
Oh, I saw that.
Have you seen it? The animated one? And he talks about how like
horrible. Like
dude, it gave me like severe anxiety.
I drove slower for a week after that.
Okay, right? I was like, I need to ensure that no matter what, I don't like accidentally go to prison.
Yeah.
Like, and I say accidentally because I don't think I would ever do anything to get myself in a position to where I would go to prison,
Says the guy
especially
driving a
for
Lamborghini right
especially
now.
for life.
Yeah.
But like, man, that was terrifying.
Yeah.
And he's talking about how like, there's a survival and like maybe that's a wow factor, but you're just kind of like
Yeah.
things you just don't know about, and so people going into depth with that.
Speaking of random things to watch, you're gonna laugh at me. I watched the sinking of the Britannic last night.
Oh my goodness!
And I stayed up. It was like an hour. I had to see how it ended.
It's so crazy.
It was like going to a bullfight. You know how it's gonna end, but you're never prepared.
No.
Yeah.
So
like when they actually this time it had lifeboats,
Mhm.
unlike the Titanic,
Mhm.
and so they launched the lifeboats early, and two of them, as the boat was sinking, the props were still going, but they were above the water line, and it basically sucked the first two lifeboats into the prop. So instead of drowning in a boat, he got chopped to bits.
Oh my
You were
goodness.
literally put in a wood chipper.
That's actually insane.
And it sounds horrible, but only 30 people passed with the sinking of the Britannic because of the learning from the Titanic. Anyway, this is the crazy crap we see on these long form videos.
So crazy. Yeah, but it's just stuff like that. Stuff. I think it's hard to say for sure, like what makes.
Okay, so let me
content
switch it on
super-
you. Father of automotive vertical video. What's three aspects that makes vertical video, specifically in automotive,
Mhm.
successful?
I don't know. It's actually it really is a hard question, and I say that because like I know things that I think make vertical work, but there's sometimes I'll film a short and I'm like, oh, this is gonna do really well, and it doesn't.
Oh, that has nothing to do with vertical or
Well,
horizontal.
no, I'm just saying it's like one of
That's
those
always
things
the
like
case.
because we just talked about this before we started. It's like sometimes when you put, not that I don't put any effort into any video, but sometimes the videos you kind of just do. You don't think too much about it. You kind of just do it. Those do really well. But I think there's a reason for that. Like I think there's this level of sort of like authenticity where you're not trying to do anything specific. It's just like this authentic vibe, or like maybe this like, this sort of like let's just stick with authenticity vibe that comes through. And I feel like people can feel that. People can definitely feel that through the videos. And
well,
so
that's when we go into the power of social media.
yeah.
It is all like the stuff that really works. I don't care what platform. I don't care if it's this way or this way. Authenticity rules over everything.
100%. And so like for example, like if I'm trying, like I never try to make viral content, because then I get too in my head about like what's a trending thing, and like let's throw like this trending audio, or let's throw this trending like.
Have you done that where you sat down and
No,
said, okay,
no.
I'm going to take this song and build a video on it? Or?
No, never. Like logically, if someone's like, I want to make viral content, you're gonna probably try and put in all these things that are already viral, I feel like. And I try not to do that just because to me it's not something I would authentically do, so I steer clear of it. If I'm gonna do
something fascinating that the viewers don't know, I don't know about TikTok, but YouTube has gotten into this thing where AI analyzes your videos,
Mhm.
and it's got this aspect of the YouTube studio. That's the back end that we see, and you could click on it, and it gives you like episode ideas. You should try this. You should try that. I feel it's disingenuous, but
Mhm.
maybe it's just me being an old man.
Well, I feel like as more of that comes along, I feel like it's gonna be harder for people to get creative on their own.
So that begs the question, do you use any sort of AI tools in any aspect of your business?
Yes, but just like information. Like for example,
research or coming up with SEO terms?
like information like okay, the Subaru Brat I just told you about. I went because I couldn't find a few things. I couldn't find the exact weight, couldn't find certain things. And I went to ChatGPT and I was like, hey, I need to know the exact weight of this 9500 turbo, the one that Travis Pastrana was driving, because I couldn't find it anywhere. And I was like, well, ChatGPT will just scour the internet and pull it for me. And it pulled up 2,857 pounds. And I was like, where did it get that? Because I couldn't find it. And then I asked it and I was like, hey, where did you find that? It literally pulled up a link to a shirt that Hoonigan was selling. And on the shirt, it says the weight of the car.
Unbelievable.
Isn't that crazy? I couldn't find it like on any of the information because like even the video, I watched parts of it.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the whole thing, so maybe they said it in different parts in the video. But when they're talking to the engineer, he's like, 670 horsepower. This car talks about everything except for the weight. And I was like, dang, what's the weight? I was on a t-shirt, and it like pulled that. So crazy. So like I'll use it for information on the cars because I like to know everything about the car, like every single detail. So that's how I feel like I can make my videos.
So it's only a research tool for you now.
Only a research tool for me. I never use it for anything like creative.
So you're not using it to like augment the video.
No.
Put AI type of video in the actual finished product.
No.
So a car like, when did this Lamborghini turn up?
I picked up this morning.
This morning, okay. And how much time will you spend either getting to know it or researching it before you shoot it?
Probably like a few days.
A few 2, a few 5?
2.
Okay. And then how long does it take you to shoot your video?
Maybe an hour.
God, man, I'm jealous.
Well,
wow, that's painful.
But here's the thing: I'm not focusing too hard on getting like specific shots or good lighting, or because my iPhone does everything for me. When I was doing,
but you have a cameraman. I met him.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I love my camera guys; they're great. But they don't really do anything with like the exposure or anything like that.
Well, it's an iPhone. What do you expect?
Yeah, mainly with them, the biggest thing is the coordination, right? So if I'm moving and going through all these things really quickly, them following and looking at exactly what I want them to look at and getting the exact angle. So I still kind of feel like I'm the director when I'm making the videos.
Is he on a gimbal?
No,
he's just handheld when he's doing all that?
Yeah, iPhones are pretty incredible for video.
Oh, dude, that's hard to do, to have it without, because one of the things that's fascinating about your videos, you do this thing where you go through all this stuff and you cover so much in a very short period of time, which is great. But I don't think that's the thing that stands out about your videos. I think it's this, let me take you on this crazy whirlwind tour and you're following my finger. You see this, but you look at so many other people who do the long form stuff, and they don't understand that it's a completely different language to go into vertical video. You don't just take long form and either cut it down or take long form and say, okay, I was going to do something in 10 minutes. Now I'm going to do it in a minute. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I mean, it can. Like, there's been some people who chop up their videos and clips go viral, especially with like podcast stuff. But
just podcast stuff.
Mainly podcast stuff. But with shorts, purposeful content is very important.
I agree.
Like short form purposed content.
Yeah.
And I think that's the hardest part to figure out. I mean, I'm thankful that the style that I have now came to me as quickly as it did. But it wasn't anything I really sat and just sort of mulled over for a long time. I kind of just tried a bunch of things and then that worked.
I'm going to try this finger thing and have the camera follow the finger? Because that's kind of your stock and trade.
No, I didn't even really like think about it like that. I was kind of just like, I'm going to be talking about this. And it's kind of just like follow what I'm talking about. And my finger just happened to be on everything I was talking about. But it's mainly like if I'm talking about the seats, like look at the seats. If I'm talking about the dash, look at the dash. And it's going to sound so funny. My thought process is kind of like, well, if he's looking at the dash, I'm not in it. But it's kind of a different feel if like here, I'm gonna give you an example. Okay, so let's say you're filming this thing right here, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, then you have this gorgeous glass. But go like this, do something like underneath it, right? Then you have this gorgeous glass. Right? There's still like a part of you in there, in that clip. Versus take your hand completely out. Versus if you're like, oh, then you have this gorgeous glass. It just gives a different vibe. I don't know how to like explain it.
Well, actually, I have a way. So
like boom,
off camera.
There's just the glass, and then this one's like.
I need this video so we can put it into.
Then there's this glass.
People don't realize off camera. My cameraman here, Pete, great guy, super car guy, as a matter of fact. Pete, he's kind of new to the organization, and we have a style guidelines. Like everything, all that finger stuff, all that stuff you do, I have it written down. It's like, how many pages is that document? It's like 2 or 3 page document.
That's so funny.
Like, oh yeah, everything's processed here. So What I call it is either the camera's got to move or the subject has to move. So it's never like you would never do B-roll where you're just looking at that and it's not moving.
Mm-hmm.
But you also don't want to do the amateur shot where, ooh, look at this. I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm going to do this. Totally amateur.
Mm-hmm.
You can do a slide. You can do a faux slider. You can do a push. Or you could do this thing like what we do a lot with our drive-bys where I'm coming at the cameraman like this and he's coming like this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all in the style guidelines. And I feel like maybe you don't have a 2-3 page document, but I feel like you've done that.
No. I feel like I disappoint so many people when I tell them that because there are a lot of people like my wife, for example.
Yeah.
She's a very like organized, structured, and I'm the complete opposite. I'm just a very like go with the flow, like complete usage of free will kind of guy. I kind of just do things and I don't really think too much into them. And when I do think too much into them, I actually do worse. I don't know if that's just like a me thing. I don't know if that's because of my ADHD. I have no clue what it is. It's just kind of the way I operate. Like you can ask my camera guys. We don't rehearse anything. We kind of just go for it. And we're like, all right, let's try this. Do I like this clip? I'll watch it back. No, I don't like this. Maybe try this right here. No, I don't like this. I kind of just go off of what I like. Because if I don't get excited about the clip, then I don't want it in the video.
How many takes would you do with something?
It depends. Sometimes I can get it in one take.
Yeah.
And that's cool. And we get really hyped. We're like, oh, sick. Or sometimes I'm having a bad day and I can't get like, let's say if I'm saying like, Bentley been take a speed. Maybe I could have a day where I'm like, I cannot get those 3 words out.
Yeah, we all.
And I'm like, Bentley been and I have to do like 20 takes, just trying to get that part said quickly. So during the videos, I have to extra focus on enunciation, plus go quickly, and that's actually the hardest part for me personally about shooting the videos is making sure I'm understood.
Be honest with you, this is something that I've been doing on my own. Not that I have the enunciation problems. Sometimes I do get tongue tied, but I found that I need to make things more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
It actually, I don't focus on let's make something viral. What I focus on is I'm laser focused on audience retention, like laser focused. Something we are unusually good at, have been for a very long time, but with this reimagination of the show, we've bumped it up 5-10 points, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's looking at things like, okay, do I say the whole thing about the engine, or do I throw that into specifications, or do I do things like this where I make the words more efficient, or do I take the in-car and I move it to the beginning?
Mm-hmm.
And each little tweak we play around with and we catalog it.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, it does have a drastic impact on the retention, which has an impact on the views.
You know what I like most about your channel?
Tell me.
You. I mean, truly.
You're buttering me up now.
No, truly, because I always tell people, they're like, hey, how can I make my content unique? I'm like, well, just be you. And like, that sounds very like a cookie cutter statement. But I mean, if you think about it, like, there's no other me in the world. So I could have people that come along and do the same style, but then I'll always have people that come back and watch the videos. And like, yeah, sometimes I'll just watch it because you bring like your personality to the style or personality to the video. And that's truly like a superpower because there's no other me on the planet. Like no one can be a better me than me. No one can be a better you than you. Because no one's gone through like the life experiences you've gone through. No one's developed their personality the way you have. Like the people you've grown up with, met, spent time with, like all that has helped develop and shape you, like your personality, all these things. And then you have like your unique gifts, talents, likes, etc. And all that just brews you, right? And no one can copy that exact like formula. So that's why I always tell people just fully lean into you. Like don't try to be someone else. Don't try to like, do something different. So like with your videos, I like when you start, you always say something like, I'm trying to think of an example. It's like you'll start and you'll say something about the car and you go into the video, but then you always have this, like, I've never seen another video that has the same sort of feel and vibe that yours does. I can't really explain what it is, but I think that thing that I can't really explain, like that's the you factor, that's the thing that you bring, like whether it's the funny statements where you're just like something fast, like Santa Maria, or if you're, or like the way you explain things is really interesting sometimes because like I don't ever hear people explain things or look at things the way you look at them because you have this your own unique lens that you look at things through. that maybe, you know, Matt Farah wouldn't look through that lens, or maybe like Johnny Lieberman wouldn't look through that lens. Just like, it's just different.
I appreciate that.
And once again, I can't quite put my finger on it, but there is this sort of like calmness and this very composed. And I do like that you're, I don't want to say well spoken, because that's not what I'm trying to say. You're able to get an idea and convey it perfectly into words. That's something I struggle with. I'm not good at that at all.
We all struggle with that.
Yeah, but like, I think because of my ADHD, I tend to sort of like ramble or rant, and sometimes it's hard for me to find the words to fully explain something to where I'm satisfied. I just feel like you do it really well.
Well, if my editors could talk, man, they'd tell you a different story. I'll tell you a little bit behind the scenes. You know, what's funny? I get these comments. I mean, you've seen like my videos where I'm driving.
Mm-hmm.
I have my road, which I will not divulge where it is. I drive pretty quick, and I'm screaming down the road, and people are like, "Oh man, this guy's gonna go off the road." I get the comments like that, or like, "I can't believe this guy can talk so calmly and drive that thing so fast." Things like Lamborghinis. And the secret is, or the secret I don't tell people, that is the thing that A, is the hardest for me to do, and B, the thing I like the least. Like when I'm at the in-car is the first thing I shoot with every car, because I want to get it out of the way. That is the God's honest truth.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
All of us here at MotoMan are super excited to not only have the podcast back, but for it to be its own show. And there, we look to you for a little assistance. Can you help us grow the show? 2 really easy ways to do that. First and foremost, if you're reaching out via YouTube or other streaming platforms, you click on subscribe, notifications, or more importantly, share these episodes with your friends, especially on Reddit. Now, if you're downloading these episodes, listening via podcast platforms, we'd ask you to rate us. The good stars are wonderful, but leaving a written review would be even better, especially sharing who was your favorite guest. So with that, I am incredibly grateful for your assistance in help growing this. And now, back to the episode.
So I know right now I'm at like 8.2 or 8.1 on TikTok. I'm at 3. Almost at 3.6. It's like 3.59 technically on YouTube. 1.7, almost at 1.8 on Instagram. So yeah, that's what I'm at right now.
God bless you, man. Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, it's great.
I mean, I met you before all that. That's amazing that you created this in 5 years, effectively.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's huge numbers. Like,
it's great.
You realize that there are whole companies on Madison Avenue, their businesses to do this, and they couldn't even get a tenth of that.
That's kind of wild to think about.
Now, let me ask you, do you look at it differently? Like, TikTok is a different audience than Instagram?
100%.
So, but you said you take the one and you put it on the other. Do you change them at all?
No.
So it's the same content.
Because at first I was kind of against it, because I was like, oh, it feels like cheating, or like it just feels like something felt like weird about it. But I realized I'd be kind of silly not to do that, because each platform is truly so different. Instagram crowd is truly different. Like the Reels, people who watch Reels are truly different from people who watch YouTube Shorts. Because believe it or not, a lot of people on YouTube do not like social media, and they consider YouTube not like social media. So they'll doom scroll YouTube Shorts all day long, not realizing it's essentially the same thing a lot of people are doing on Instagram and TikTok.
So you think it's a different audience, but you're still putting the same content up. It's not different.
And so, yes, not different, because some things will hit really well with each audience. Like, I'll have one video that goes up, and one can do extremely well on one platform and do like okay on another.
Oh, so you're throwing a lot on the wall, see if it sticks.
I guess that's the way you can put it. Because, like, for example, my highest viewed video on YouTube is a Chrysler Pacifica with 40 million, right? That video did like half of that, maybe less on TikTok, which is my biggest platform. But my highest viewed video on TikTok is like an F-150 I did that had where it's got the bench seat, but then the storage under the seat.
Oh, yeah.
And then the cool table thing. That was my number 1 viewed video on TikTok. And on Instagram, I think my number 1 viewed video was like, I think it was one of the Chinese cars I filmed, where like you can't slam the door.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny because they all did well collectively on each platform, but they really excelled. Like each video excelled differently on each platform.
Is there one platform that exceeds the others?
Instagram is sort of my slow burn. It's growing. Instagram takes the most involvement, arguably.
Yeah.
I think you got to be like with the stories, the picture posts, and the reels. It's not just like you can do one. I think pictures still do the best. Like
on Instagram?
I think so.
Oh, that hasn't been the case for me in a long time.
I think so. I mean, like reels do great, but I've had some photos just like collages or like, 10 photos you just scroll through that do like.
I could put pictures of
crazy
puppy dogs
numbers.
and roses on Instagram, nothing. But I put like video, like for Derek Jenkins,
Yeah.
chief designer of Lucid, sat there and he talked about his house coming on fire. I put that on Instagram and boom, it went on fire.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you have stuff like that. And then like TikTok. TikTok has become increasingly harder to figure out just because they've changed a lot over the years. YouTube, for me personally, has been my like fastest growth, especially over the past 2 years. It's just been growing like crazy.
On the short side.
On the short side.
So
it's
you
been
haven't
going
done
nuts.
any, because I looked at your channel a couple of days ago. I didn't see any
Mm-mm.
landscape videos, but the business side of it, you do crazy views, tons of views, more than anybody in like the landscape side of the house.
Mm-hmm.
How do you manage the business? Like, are you the guy that like sponsors will come into you? Do you deal with it, or do you farm it out to an agency or something like that?
I have a manager who handles a lot of
Look
my.
at you, manager in a Lamborghini. Must be nice.
Well, I guess. He's cool. He's a really cool guy.
Does he actively seek out sponsorships, or it's all inbound stuff?
A little bit of both.
And how long have you had a manager?
I think it's been a year.
Did he come to you, or you found him?
I found him. Went to a coffee shop in Dana Point and randomly met him there. And I was already looking for a manager, actually. Ran into him and he's like, "Hey, I love your channel, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Sweet." I was like, "What do you do?" He's like, "I actually do like, I'm a manager. I manage." And I was like, "No way." I was like, "I'm looking for a manager." And he's like, "Sweet." He's like, "Maybe we can talk." He's like, "No, I'm not going to push you for anything. Just let me know if what you think. I can go over like what I do, what percentages he would take, all that stuff." And we talked about everything, worked everything out. He seemed like a good fit. He has been a good fit. He's great. His name is Yama.
Yama,
Awesome. Yama, Yama.
as in like Yama-san, who designed a Z32.
Sure. Or
Yeah.
Yamaha.
That's a good way of putting it. So it sounds like a lot of fortuitous things happen in your life.
Yeah. But that's the thing, right? It's like,
Well, this is not everybody. I mean, this is you've obviously heeded the word of the Lord. Actually, it's something we haven't covered yet. It seems to me there's a big test in life,
Mhm.
which I have yet to pass. But big test in life, who you marry can
oh my goodness.
drastically like make your life like 10x, or you live in hell.
There's two things in the Bible that it says about like your wife, right? So one is that, well, let me start with her perspective, right?
Yeah.
So there's one verse in the Bible where it says like a wife is like the crown on your head, right? So if I'm a king and I have a crown on my head, that is what's showing people the sort of like the awesomeness you have as a king.
Yeah.
That sort of like speaks
Yeah.
volumes about you, right? And plus you use it to showcase, like it's something you want to showcase, and it's something you just like, anyways. So there's that, but then also there's a verse that says, "He who finds a wife finds favor with the Lord." And I truly believe that, because I don't think we would be in California if she hadn't brought up the fact first.
And you'd still be selling Mazdas.
Because technically she's the one who, if we're talking about just sort of like heeding the word of the Lord, she's technically the one who did it first.
Yeah.
I'm the one who had to catch up and like get on the same page like 8 months later. She's always the one who keeps me grounded in like if I start to, because let's be honest, when this was first starting to get big and I'm starting to get cooler, crazier cars, more access, whatever, like when you're, when I first started taking off, I was like 28. driving around some of these crazy cool cars, like you can't help but not to feel just like you're the guy.
You're the man.
You know what I'm
You
saying?
climb the top of
like
Macho
come
Mountain.
on, like you can't help but not to feel that way. She's always been very good about pulling me back down, but not in like a.
Like, how does she do it?
I think it's more like if there's any sort of like bit of that sort of high ego or like what's the word? Or losing that, or like pride, or losing that like humbleness that comes out. She'll just like, hey, that's probably not like a good way to talk or think about this. Like, you know, you need to be more grateful.
So she has the presence of mind to not drive past it. She stops you and says, you need to keep yourself in check.
Yeah.
But does it in a way that's not combative.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I'll take
That's
it.
amazing.
Sometimes I'll take it combatively just because like not a lot of people wouldn't. But then like once you sit and reflect and you're like, okay, sorry, I took that like offensively. I think that was just like, you know, the pride in me that didn't want to sort of back down.
Yeah.
And like thought that I wasn't doing anything wrong.
Well,
but
is
then
it
in
related
retrospect-
to, I know you want to drive your $550,000 car, but you got to change the diapers? Or is it you just came out of the $550,000 car and she notices like a change in your aura and she says, hey, let's check that out the door? Which one of the two is it?
Sort of things like, for example, if we have a cool car and I'm like, oh, whatever, we can just valet it.
Yeah.
Like sort of in like a money's not an issue kind of thing, which thankfully I'm at a point to where like valeting a car isn't like a big deal necessarily, but I don't want to be in that mindset all the time and just be like, oh, just because I can, let's just spend this money, because then like biblically, I feel like that's not stewarding my money very well. I feel like that's just like, you know, it's like, yeah, I don't want to spend it just because I have it.
So that brings up a big point. I don't know if you know this about me, something very near and dear to my heart. You go to Mariners and you probably know about this. I'm a big Dave Ramsey guy.
Okay.
Like I teach the Dave Ramsey class at my
Oh,
church.
sweet. Yeah.
There would be no MotoMan without Dave Ramsey. I can tell you that. And I live it to the letter, man. Like,
Yeah.
to the letter.
Like all of his
Everything.
advice on just like financial freedom and stuff like that. Yeah.
No credit cards, baby step 7, the whole deal. Obviously, I'm not asking you to divulge numbers, but you're making a couple of bucks at this point. How has it changed your life?
I mean, we're living in arguably like, if not the first and the second most expensive state in the U.S. My wife can stay at home. We just got a house.
You just bought a house?
No, we are renting it.
And then you recently, like, you just bought your wife a car, from what I remember.
Yes, we did. So that one was cool because I thought long and hard about it. Because another thing was the financial aspect
A little
of it.
disappointed it wasn't a 911, but I'll give you a pass.
I wish. So I was like, man, because you know EVs appreciate and
I'll appreciate.
depreciate.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Depreciate.
What? Appreciate.
Depreciate. So we got basically a fully loaded Buzz except for all-wheel drive, because you can't get all-wheel drive in the bench seat, which is so silly considering it's supposed to be a people mover.
Yeah.
So we went with rear-wheel drive, which wasn't an issue because my wife doesn't drive fast, and the range wasn't really an issue because she doesn't drive far.
And you live in.
And we have a charger at the house.
Yeah.
So we were looking at the numbers, and I wanted to get something new because we were going to do like a partial like write-off for it because the weights and all that stuff. And then,
Of course.
so we're looking at all these options. Tahoe is an option, but for like a mid-level RST, it was like 84 grand. I was like, yeah,
Blows my mind.
no,
Blows my
so
mind.
insane. We're looking at like Ioniq 9 and EV9, which is the better car.
Great cars, but they're stones. They're not selling.
So not only that, I've got 3 boys in car seats. You can't get a bench seat.
How old are the boys?
3, 2, and 2 months.
Dude, you're busy. Wow.
And so, but once you go to the higher loaded trims, you can't get a bench seat. It's only captain's chairs.
Yeah.
So they're automatically out because I don't want to put one of my kids in the third row, even though you can, because then if I need to fold down the third row to put more stuff,
Yeah.
I got to fold down the seat next to them. And that just becomes a safety hazard for me. If things are flying around, we get into a wreck, whatever, it's just all,
Yeah.
and I don't want him in the trunk separated from everyone else, basically. So then my wife had already loved the Buzz. That was the only press car that I got where she was like, oh my gosh, I love this thing.
And you guys didn't have a car before that. You were just driving press
Just driving
cars.
press cars.
Yeah.
So then I remember the Buzz was really spacious. Sliding doors are great because that's the best thing about minivans, sliding doors. And we were looking at the minivans, things like the Carnival, the Pacifica, which I really like the Pacifica. Still think it's a great car.
Yeah,
But they're kind of like
the Pacifica, man. I'm shocked.
They're kind of boring.
Kinda.
They're very boring. The
Yeah.
Pacifica, the V6 one is the better one to get because you can get the stow and go and whatever, which is like what it's known for. Once you go to the hybrid, you lose out a lot of cool features, even though the hybrid's the better driving one. So then I'm like, that's kind of lame. And you can only get it in front wheel drive, which whatever. Carnival is cool, but a lot of people in my neighborhood have Carnivals, and I'm like, dude, oh my gosh,
You live in Irvine, buddy.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, you live
I
in
was like, I
Irvine.
don't want to just be another
You never
Carnival
know.
on the road.
Yeah.
So then I was like, man, but they are great. They were like 55 fully loaded.
Blows my mind. Those are so expensive.
They are. Everything's just expensive now. I guess I'm just kind of used to it.
Well,
dealing
you know what?
new
Toyota
cars.
Camrys are 28 grand still.
Yeah.
That's a great car.
Yeah. Sienna was an option too.
Also 50.
But once again, a lot of people have Siennas, and not that I like mind having the same car as everyone else. I just want something exciting, which is hard to find. People were like, oh, Escalade V or Durango Hellcat, which whatever. Once again, same issue. You can't get a bench seat.
Escalade V, man, it's 170 grand.
Yeah, that wasn't even in the running because I wasn't going to spend that much.
I'm driving an Escalade right now, and
Yeah.
I mean, I think you know this about me. I am anything but practical. Like, I am the
Yeah.
opposite of you.
Okay.
And I needed to, I will tell you, I'm shooting short content on this thing.
Mhm.
And I'm not an Escalade guy. Like,
Mhm.
it's just never been my thing. This one turned up. I was blown away.
It's so nice.
They changed the front and the interior. Like, you open the door and you're like, oh, it's not a gussied up pickup truck anymore.
It's so nice now.
It's got leather, real Zebrano wood. Last time you saw real Zebrano wood was a 1975 Mercedes, and then wool. And then the lower door panels, high quality material in a Cadillac, which blow, and all the switchgear is specific.
They're doing great, but yeah, they're definitely
killing it.
charging a lot for that.
That car's
greatness.
130 grand.
Yeah. See,
You're rich, you can afford that.
no, I'm not rich.
You rich.
If I didn't have kids, I probably would be. But so my wife loved the way it looked. She loves the cute quirkiness about it. She's not a quirky person, but she just likes the
Mhm.
car like that. And she likes that everyone smiles whenever they see it. She's like, it just makes me so happy. So I was like, cool. I was like, that's great. Because how many cars focus a lot on like the fun, like make you happy sort of thing? It's like Miata, Buzz. You can probably count on one hand the cars that do that. Because it's not really a good like business case to focus on just fun.
From a
or
business
smiles.
case, the Buzz is probably going to be a disaster for them.
100%.
Like, $72,000 is just a
100%. So
The
that was
bridge
the
too
other thing
far.
was the price, right? So they were going to charge me like 70 out the door.
yeah.
And I was like, absolutely not. It's been a while now. I told them I wasn't going to tell them the exact price, but it's been
Yeah,
a
it's
while.
just between us chickens.
It's been a while.
No,
So we got it for, with taxes, I think we were like 63 out the door.
Wait, with the tax,
Yeah.
that's like the equivalent of a $15,000 discount. Oh yeah.
We haggled pretty hardcore.
And did
I did make a video shouting them out.
Volkswagen?
No,
North America do
Volkswagen North
anything?
America did offer me like here's our discount code,
Yeah.
whatever, but it was like whatever discounts they had plus another like $750 off.
So it wasn't 15 grand.
No, it was like 3 to 4 to 5.
See, that's fascinating to me. Like, we'll go back to the Ioniq 9 for a minute. As people kind of know, but I'm a big fan of Hyundai, mainly because of the speed at which they move. They eat everybody else's lunch, full stop.
I think in America they're the best EVs.
To an extent, yeah, I would agree with you. To an
the
extent. For the price, yes. Not the Ioniq 9, though. And the Ioniq 9 has come out. It is a wonderful vehicle.
Yeah.
I'm one of the few people that kind of like some of the way it looks, not all of it.
Mhm.
The interior is magnificent.
Oh,
Magnificent.
I thought you were going to say it wasn't good. I don't think it's as good as EV9 though.
You think it? No, I think the interior is better on the Hyundai by far. I think
You know
what's
what?
happened with the EV9, when it came out on the EV9, that's neat. Now they've done this Russian nesting doll syndrome where everything's, even that new Seltos that came out yesterday,
Oh,
it's the
I
same
see what
thing.
you're saying. I see what you're saying. Okay.
Where the Hyundai, they deliberately avoid the Russian nesting doll, so the bits
Yeah.
that are inside the car are specific. But here's what's happening.
Mhm.
The car that I drove, at least, was this beautiful burgundy with this gray leather, and all the touch points were as good as that Escalade at 130 grand, but it's $80,000. They're not selling them. So you know what they're
So
doing?
expensive, what?
The dealers are damaging them and saying, "Oh, we have to write it off," and they send it to a wholesale auction
That's so
to get it
insane.
off their books.
That's so insane. But here's the thing, though.
That's crazy.
I had told the VW people, one dealership in San Juan tried to tell me that, like, oh, we're not going to discount it because we sell the most. Last month was actually our best month. And I was like, well, of course last month was your best month. They just got rid of the EV tax credit.
Yeah.
So everyone was buying it up that
Yeah.
month. And granted, SoCal, they do sell a lot because where else really does that car have the most like nostalgia? Probably in California.
They're gonna sell like 5,000.
Yeah.
And they're all in California. There'll be
Exactly.
2 in Illinois and 1 in
Exactly.
New York.
And so there are just a lot of factors that made it make sense for us. Like we have great climate out here. So the range drop in the winter wasn't a big worry for
So
us.
she's happy with it.
She's real happy. The kids fit in it incredibly well. I can have my seat all the way back,
Yeah.
literally until it can't go back anymore. My son's car seat's behind me, and I still have like that much
This
space.
is the older one.
Like that much space at least.
Wow.
Yeah, my oldest. It's
So-
crazy.
So is there a daddy car coming up soon?
Maybe. But
Well, what are we thinking?
I don't know, because here's the thought process, right? If I had a father car, I'm thinking
No, a daddy car. Father car is very different.
I just don't like the word daddy.
Okay, fine. I'm going to avoid that one there for a minute. Yeah.
I don't want to refer to myself as daddy. So basically,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a
This is
good
not
question.
music for
That's a
you.
good question.
How about an R6?
The issue comes when I have to fit 3 car seats.
Who cares? That's what the roof rack is for.
So insane. No, but seriously, it's like an issue a lot of people don't think about.
But that's the difference between a father car and a daddy car. A daddy car is when daddy needs some space. He goes out for a drive.
Yeah.
So I would submit 911.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And the little shelves in the back, stick them right there.
You can put the 1 in the front and then 2 in the back. It's set.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
You just can't get a GT because the GT doesn't have a back seat. Actually, now you can get a GT3 with a back seat now.
Yeah.
There you go.
GT3 Touring.
As take it from the man who owns one. I highly suggest it.
Love GT3 Touring. But I don't know. That is a very good question.
How about a Corvette? I just drove an E-Ray to Scottsdale and back. I'm shocked how good that car is.
You know what would be better?
What's better?
If they put the E-Ray setup in the Z06.
Well, you're kind of already getting that.
Well, here's what I mean. I love ZR1,
Yeah.
but I'm going to be so honest and sound like such a loser saying this. I think 1,000 horsepower is just too much. I think it's just like,
I totally agree with you.
I think it's too much.
Totally
I
agree
think
with
the 670 that the Z06 is making,
Yeah.
great amount of power. Plenty to have fun with. Not too much to where you will absolutely get like prison time after maxing out 1 gear.
I am a big, I'm not a Ford guy, but in the regular Mustang world, I was always a big fan of the GT350 because it was the
Yes.
right amount of horsepower. 500 is the
Yes.
number. When you get into the GT500, the car can't handle
See,
it.
that's the thing. I loved GT350R the most
Oh.
from that generation. I would choose it over
Badass.
GT500.
Totally agree.
I would choose over GT500.
No, you were a
The
smart
manual
guy.
made it so much better. But I think that for me, like I said, Z06, I just like it because the turbos are massive on the ZR1, the biggest in a production car. And the amount of sound it takes away from that flat plane crank is actually crazy. It just sounds like more airy. Like I've heard a few exhausts and it sounds better, but it's nothing compared if you hear the Z06s with an exhaust. There's a dude that did like a titanium exhaust with like Cook's headers and it sounded like a mini SVJ.
Wow.
So crazy. But my thing is, imagine that, the naturally aspirated sound, but with the E-Ray setup, you would have all-wheel drive, which would be cool. You can drive it like in the rain, drive it sort of like wherever. Great, like cross-country kind of car. You don't lose the sound like you do in ZR1, and you get more power. So then it kind of fills the gap in between ZR1, which is like absurd amounts of power.
Yeah.
And the motors make like what? A little under 200? So that'd be like at least 8, right? 670.
I don't think there's a market for it.
You don't?
Nope. I think there's a market for a Z06, and I think there's a market for
E-Ray?
too much.
Mm,
I don't think there's a market for an E-Ray, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Car ain't selling. So you look at,
What if they did like a Z06X? Went that route.
okay, here's what I think they should do. They should do a lightweight Z06 with a manual. Make like 1,000 of them. They'd sell every one of them they can build. And I would be one of the people that buys them.
Be cool.
Be beyond cool.
It would that the car would sound really cool routed through a manual.
Oh my God. Amazing.
Just because the transmission on the Z06 it's very, very, very precise. So it has this very I don't say boring, but like it has this sort of like, when you upshift, it's gonna do the pop, pop, pop.
See, I see there is a resurgence coming. Porsche, even Ferrari, I'll go so far as to saying Ferrari, they are leaving money on the table. And now that, let's just say, the winds of change or reality has set in with the people who run the mandates, I can see not just Porsche's been good at this, but Porsche, Corvette, Ferrari, maybe Lamborghini, probably not, where they say, okay, how about we finally give in and say, I'll give you 1,000 units with a manual transmission and it's 150 grand, take it or leave it. And I promise you, everyone will take it.
Oh, yeah.
I see even Ferrari doing this.
Yes, but that's the thing, though. It's the manual stuff is only now reserved for the higher end cars because they wouldn't do that with like really anything else. I couldn't see them doing that
because the
Corvette.
volumes are so low. It's weirdo people like you and I.
Yeah.
Which brings us back to money.
But then the weirdo people like you and I have to come into money too.
Well, let's get back to that. And we got off on this. I mean, we did a crazy weave here with these crazy expensive cars. But the point I was asking was, you're in a different position now. It's not just you're a parent, married, and you have a successful business, but now God has given you some favor in terms of some couple of bucks in your pocket. Mm-hmm. What are some other changes in your life besides living in a 5-bedroom house and buying your wife a car? Like, how do you handle that? How do you handle that favor that God has given you now?
I just constantly pray that I'm not like foolish with my money. I mean, I've been good because I haven't bought like tons of cars.
Yeah.
So that's been good. I kind of like, but I think more like I want to make sure that my money that I make is working for me also. So I've been trying to think of ways to do something a little bit more sustainable. Like I love what I do, but at the end of the day, I'm like a performer in a way because it's like the fluctuations of views and whatever. But then that's why I have my manager who gives me brand deals, which sort of supplement for the fluctuations.
What's the majority of the income, from the views or from the brand deals?
Brand deals, which is hard because
Rome is the same thing.
Yeah, so it's hard because the brand deals are what really, really pay the bills, but the content is what enables the brand deals. So I can't do too many brand deals because then that becomes the content. Mm-hmm. And if that becomes the content, then the views fall off and all these brands are just after the exposure. So if you lose that exposure because you're doing too many brand deals, then you get less brand deals. It's such a weird thing. That's why I'm really trying to secure like a long-term sponsor or have my own product that I can put in the videos.
So what would be a Forrest Jones product?
I really wanted to make an energy drink, but I'm really in tight with Red Bull. And so that's kind of like it's kind of a weird thing.
You worried about that deal happening? That TikTok deal?
Which one?
The sale.
No.
Change of control.
No. Because at that point, YouTube and Instagram were doing really well. So I was like, I still had that as backup. Yeah. But if I were to do something new, like you can't do something new and not invest time into it, which means you got to take that time from something you're already working on.
Yeah, no one tells you that.
You know what I mean? So like and as the channel gets bigger, the risks and the stakes only get higher, especially because like, and once again, as I say, this is where my faith comes in. This is where I cling to my faith because on my own, I'm thinking like, okay, I've got 8 million on TikTok. I've got, I pretty much only do the short form thing. So going into something new would mean I'd have to sort of take time away from that. And that is what is providing for my family. That's what's, paying the bills. So it's keeping the channel relevant so that I can do the brand deals and blah, 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 blah. But then I got to cling to just something outside of myself because myself is telling me it's not the right thing to do. Myself is telling me like, that's too risky.
Diversify.
Yeah, too risky, especially when like you have a family who's counting on you. Like myself is telling me like, be consistent, because that's what your family needs right now is consistency, and they do need consistency. But like, I don't know. And there's that whole provision thing. It's like, like, yeah, like I am providing for them, but who provided me all the opportunities, and who provided me like the open doors to be able to do what I do now? So I think that's where I'm at right now, is like I'm in a position where it's like I have this thing that's this well-oiled machine,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like I need to step into something different. I think I'll still work with cars, obviously, but I think I'm at a pivoting point, but I don't really know what that looks like yet. So yeah, and it's very risky, it's very scary, especially because I already have a well-established channel, something most people like work their whole lives to try and get.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're telling me that I'm trying to do something new. So it's like, what does that look like?
I don't want to sound like your father, and I'm not old enough to be your father, but I am old enough to be your older brother.
Okay.
And this is where I'm going to talk like your older brother.
Okay.
You're going to find in life, no matter how well things are going, and in this case, it's going very well for you. Like
Yeah.
I love seeing stories like this. Like
Mhm.
I've watched the arc go from here to here,
Mm-hmm.
and it's amazing to see that. But there's always going to be reinvention throughout your life, and it comes. At least for me, it's come every 10 years.
There's
Big reinvention.
There's definitely like a time limit kind of thing. Not like a time limit, but I think I don't know. Maybe it's just like my season with this is like coming to an end. I don't want it to.
I don't think it. No,
Not
So,
not
for the
necessarily
point-
an end.
I
End
don't
is
see
like
it as an end.
to.
I see it. I see you're taking it to a different level. Like you've
Yeah.
gotten to this point, it's opened up a lot of doors for you. Like for example, you when you first told me your first big video was a Honda minivan, and you just showed up in a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big shift.
Yeah.
And I see you taking that foundation. Let me step back. I see you being smart enough of a guy to be able to take that foundation and build on it. That's the challenge in life. Not everybody is able to take that foundation and build upon it.
That's where I'm struggling, because that's where I'm just like, okay, I've been given this platform. I have all these followers. Like, what am I doing with this? How can I utilize this
Yeah.
and build upon it, basically?
That's the hard part of this industry.
And not just look back and be like, oh, I had this thing that went up and then it just went down. I never really like did anything with it other than just like make the videos. Then the videos got irrelevant, or maybe like I got irrelevant, or the style got boring, or whatever. So I'm just like, man.
And that's where you look at this industry. Like Doug's a great example. You bring up Doug. He's a guy that he got real lucky, man. Got real lucky. He hit it. It went big,
Mm-hmm.
but he was smart enough to like, I got to figure out this is a hit-driven business. And then a guy comes to him and says, hey, man, I'm doing this platform. And how about you promoting my platform and you being the face of this thing? And it was a smart thing to do. He creates this thing, turns it into this, basically the Pepsi to bring a trailer's Coke, and then floats a portion of it to the investment community and rolls out with $35 million. I mean, what's not to shame? I had no shame in that game.
It's great. I think that's where I know I lack. And when I say I know I lack, I mean like there's things I'm good at and there's things I'm not good at. I like the creative side of things. I'm not a business person by any means. That's where I completely lack. It's very, very hard to me. Like I don't know good or bad business opportunities. I don't know. Like,
You're smart enough to say this guy Yama's better at it than you are.
yeah, like he's good at the brand deal stuff. But then when you're talking like in business endeavors or business partners, it's like a whole nother thing, you know? It's like a whole nother thing that I'm just not familiar with. Because I think I'm one of the only people in my family that did any sort of like entrepreneurial work. So even just doing this YouTube stuff was like completely new ground for me. Like I didn't know anyone or have anyone close to me that was like also like sort of work for themselves. So it was tough from the behind the scenes, because I was like, what am I doing here? Like, how do I get this organized? Like what? Taxes? Terrible. Figuring that out was awful. I got it now, but
Yeah.
it's just things like that no one talks about, because everyone's like, oh, do your own business, do this, do that. But there's so much that comes with it,
It's funny. I can't tell you how many times people come up to me. I want to do what you do. How do I do this? And my answer is always the same, and no one likes it. Well, number one, work for free for 5 years. And no one gets to point number two.
No.
But then you go through I could outline all of it. And no one wants to take the risk.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing. It's all about.
And you took the risk. You had the faith, which I sent you a Miles episode, correct?
Mm-hmm.
When you watch that. So you kind of know how I bring these things to a close.
Mm-hmm.
So you know the questions that comes next. What are the 3 aspects, 3 choices, 3 actions in life that led to, and your story is still being written at this point, that led to the success of Forrest Jones?
First and foremost, my faith. Easy. That's probably number one. Once again, just because like I do get anxious about a lot of things. And sometimes that anxiousness will turn into like a state of like being paralyzed, to where like making any sort of big move or big decision just feels so overwhelming because you kind of just shy away from it. So I think my faith has really allowed me to have a trust in someone, or I guess you can say something bigger than I am, and something a little bit more sure-footed than I am. Mm-hmm. So that gives me the courage and obviously the faith to like move forward and like these things I feel like God's called me into. That's huge for me. Next, my wife. Having just like that person, like that tangible, physical person in your life that you can just trust with everything, that knows you, that can kind of keep you grounded, but keep you grounded even when you don't want to hear it. Like,
that's the hardest part.
Cause there's been so many times when like she's brought up something and I've gotten like offended by it or whatever. But then realizing that she's never coming from a place of like hate or anything. It's just like from a place of like, always from a place of love.
When did you meet her?
I was 21. She was 18. Or
wow.
20. She was 18. I can't remember. No, maybe I was 21. She was 19.
Together for 11 years?
At least 12 or no, maybe it's longer. I'm so sorry.
Wow.
Honey, if you're watching this, goodness.
Wow. Mrs. Jones, man, this guy.
Man math is not math.
You got to beat this guy up when he gets home.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
We've been together for a while, but yeah, it's that's been really, really helpful, because like going through life is already pretty hard. Going through life alone,
no one tells you that.
Going through life alone is pretty hard. Going through it with someone else is amazing. Whether or not it's always amazing having someone else there, because sometimes the other person can cause life to be hard for the other person, whether it's her with me or me with her.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely been both. But I think it's beauty of marriage, man. It's just like having
so you would do it all over again, the marriage part.
Oh, for sure.
Right
for sure. I think the hardest part about marriage though is like just the constant working through the challenges. Because a lot of people can give up. So, obviously that's how divorces happen. But putting forth that immense effort, because it is immense effort, to really just constantly like work and like nurture the marriage is always the hardest part. Like a lot of people like a garden, you know what I mean? Like like just the watering and the feeding and just the constant. Because if you stop doing that, then what's going to happen? It's going to wither. And obviously that's something we've learned. It's something we've heard, but then putting it into practice is a whole other thing. So like we've learned
as a society, too many people don't understand that. Like,
it's hard.
I look at people like you and Miles and I think Kirk in Florida.
Yeah,
he's got a bunch of kids, Christian as well, great guy. And they understand it's not all puppy dogs and roses. It does take work. Where on the other side of the fence, as a guy that's not married, you'd be shocked how so many people that are single don't understand. Once you get past that 6 months, it takes work.
Oh, it's just nothing but. It's like
no one
gets
constant.
That. It's like taking care of a rotary.
As a guy who owned an FCRX7 and wants an FD, absolutely.
It's just like
very delicate.
But
when they work, man, it's great.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like
but you have to just put so much effort, but the effort pays off, and it's just and once you have kids, it's just even more effort, because then you have to be even more.
It's a blessing that she is at home with the kids. Like that is the investment you are making in your sons is you won't be able to even quantify it.
It's a blessing and it's a curse for her for sure, because like it's one of those things like she loves staying home with the kids, but man, it's rough.
Yeah.
It's rough because like I mean, I'll have days when I spend the day with the boys and like my wife goes out and it's hard, dude. 3, especially with one of my boys is really rowdy.
Yeah.
The other one's pretty mellow, but then you have the newborn who wants to be held all the time, and then you're like, oh man, this is just like, always on, but it never really ends, like
Yeah.
you're always a parent.
Yeah.
Like with the Forrest Auto Reviews thing, like I'm not always filming. I'm not always, thinking of how my video is going to be put together. I'm not always trying to figure out what car to film next. But I'm always a parent. So like if I was here right now and had a call come through from my wife, I need to get home because something happened to the boys, guess what? This is done. Parent mode is on,
Yeah.
It's like I'm like always on call.
Which brings us to what's the third aspect, third action, third whatever that led to the success. Again, story still being written of Forrest Jones.
You can word this how you'd like. Let's test how good you are at this. I'm going to say something and you try to put it into a phrase for me.
Okay.
But like the people I've met along the way and the relationships I've developed along the way, nurturing those relationships, or at least making sure to maintain those relationships, having a very, just being like kind, being very, like being able to adapt and talk to different people. I used to wait tables, right? So waiting tables, I learned how to talk and adapt to different people because in Texas, I only depended on my tips. We don't get like any hourly pay. Tips were what you made your living off of.
Wait, you didn't even get $2 an hour?
Well, we did, but like it goes all to taxes. You
Yeah.
don't see it. And so, you make your living based off of how well and how quickly you can connect with your table, develop that rapport, and then make sure obviously they have great service. So like reading them immediately and being like, okay, you obviously just want to sit here, hang out. So I'll be in the background, but then I'll make sure you don't have to worry about a single thing. So when you look down to take a drink, it's full. When you reach to dip in your ketchup, guess what? It's replenished. Or if you go to put your elbow on the table, guess what? There's not a plate there or there's not crumbs there that get on your elbow.
Yeah.
Like making sure all that's in the background.
Yeah.
And then you have
biggest pet peeve for me is the refills.
and then you have the people who are like, they're out having a good time, but they sort of want to get to know you. And then that's when you're like, okay, I'll be involved with you guys or whatever. So just having that adaptability and being able to like really connect with people, that is a big thing because that alone has opened so many doors for me, made so many friends. I mean, with you, just we met randomly, but if I wouldn't have like taken the time to talk to you or you with me, or if we didn't have some sort of like connection or, or if I didn't bring up anything about my faith or just kept to myself, like this wouldn't have happened. Or, there's just a lot of things that wouldn't have happened. Even some of the PR people that we meet that like really like we connect with, then they move to a different brand and that sort of like opens the door for that brand because they're there now or just things like that. So it's really just a lot of things, but I think that connection with people is really important because you never know where someone is going to end up or you never know who you're going to meet. And just always having that sort of like respect for people.
So I'm going to encapsulate this. You said you wanted me to take a stab
please.
at putting this together. I'm going to give you this 2 different ways, and then I'm going to liken it to every single guest that I have had on the show. First and foremost, what you're basically saying to me is it's not only people seeing something in you and investing in you, you are smart enough and have the presence of mind to not drive past it and reinvest in them because you realize the relationship may not pay off right now, but you may help them or they may help you. You don't care either way, but it comes back at some point in your life.
Yeah.
That's effectively what you've told me.
Yeah. It's funny. A prayer I'll say before a lot of my videos that go up. I'll say, I just pray that this video sees this. I pray that the right people will see this video.
So let's call that the 4th pillar of success. That, again, the story is still being told. Sir, I can't thank you enough for telling me the story. I didn't know half of this stuff.
This has been great.
This has been great. I've really enjoyed this, and we're going to do this again.
Yeah, and this atmosphere is actually like giving me so much life and peace right now. This is great.
I spend every night here. So
I
what
would
you guys
too.
don't know, this is Cigar Lounge, and
If
at
I
4
lived
p.m.,
closer.
anytime you want to come, you're more than welcome to come. It's going to smell like smoke at 4 o'clock.
I love it.
But you're more than welcome to come anytime. Even
Love
bring
it.
your wife if you want.
I'm a big whiskey person too, so this is.
Oh, we
I mean,
got
obviously, I
it.
know there's other stuff up there, but like,
I'm not a drinker, but my friends will be happy to share the liquor with you.
Yeah, I think being from Texas, I'm just like whiskey guy. I don't know.
Seriously, come anytime. You are
Yeah?
more than welcome to join us here.
Let's go.
You'll love this place.
That's so sick.
Forrest, pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Brother in Christ, brother in cars.
Brother all around.
Brother all around.
I am a brother too. I'm just kidding at the
That's why we love this guy. Until we see you in the next episode. Actually, no, before I say that, you know what I'm going to do?
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't, you see my regular episodes. I always turn around to the audience and ask them a question.
Yes.
You know what question I'm going to ask them? If Forrest were to make long form videos, what would you want to see in Forrest long form videos? Let us know in the comments below. And will you like weigh in the comments and respond to people?
Yeah.
Okay, he's going to do that
I'll
for you
weigh in.
guys. Big ball, the brother, as he calls himself.
The brother.
Comments below. What should he do in his now long form videos? You'll come back on. We'll go through the comments and we'll look at you. We'll review your first video together.
Sweet.
Till we see you in the next episode. Be später.